G'day everyone, my name is Coolpilot and welcome to another CPP update video, finally. I mentioned I was going to try and get this out like a week ago. Got delayed by a few things after doing the previous two videos, the direct and the anniversary videos. They took so long to do. I was basically spent, what was that, like 5-6 days in a row, all day. Working on those two things, thanks to the fact that the direct happened, needed to do the video of that, but then I also had to turn around and do the anniversary video immediately because I had a deadline of the first to get it out on, so it was actually out on the anniversary. But it took so much work and constant, just constant work, just completely sapped me of energy. So I had to spend a few days recovering from that. Then I was taking care of the other stuff I was needing to take care of, like taxes. And then last weekend, around when I was planning to record this video, finally got around to watching Studio Trigger's B&A, brand new animal, and fell in love with it so much that not only have I watched all 6 videos, not 6 videos, episodes, bloody hell, twice, but they also gave a massive spark of inspiration for one of my comics. So I've been working on that all week. It's been delayed by a massive spurt of story creation, which is a good thing. It's actually going to be fighting for the slot for the 3rd comic after Silver Hair and its sequel. So that's good. It's like more complete comic ideas. Yes. But then actually me working on that so much, and I'm still working on it, finally taking this really good nugget of an idea that just didn't have enough there, like didn't have enough plot, didn't really have enough direction to finally be a full-fledged story with even more characters and everything, and a proper plot. It's great, but takes a lot of time, and something I'm going to be continuing to work on for a while, but caused a bit of delay. So in terms of stuff with the channel and Coolpilot Productions, just going to go straight into what's going to be posted on the channel, basically what I'm going to be working on to post. Obviously, I've mentioned in the other couple videos here that I'm going to be working on my Pokemon Sword semi-blind playthrough, and getting that edited up. I should actually look this up. How many episodes do I already have recorded from November? Agenda recordings. I have 16 Fire Emblem House, 3 Houses videos recorded. That I'm still not sure on if I'm going to actually do anything with, just for a number of reasons. I'll go into it a little bit later here. I have 13 episodes worth of Pokemon videos. But the first few are going to take a while. It's like the first episode is an hour and 45 minutes. Second's an hour. Next one's 60. But it's in terms of like the recording length. Hour 24, hour 23, 57. Actually, all of these are freaking long. Hour 12, hour 6, hour 32, hour 19, hour 48, hour 15, and then 47. Yeesh. These are going to be a pain to edit down, and they're still going to be really long. Yeah, it's going to take some time editing these. I'm not going to be, pushing myself as much as I did with the previous two, because I was on a time crunch. I'll be taking my time, so I'll be starting to work on those sometime next week, probably late next week, because there's some other stuff that I've been needing to do that's also been delayed, primarily thanks to story creation. But while I'll be starting to work on it at the end of next week, it's not going to be posted right away. I'm going to want to do get a couple of them edited first before I start posting them. Partially to also see how long it takes me, so that way I know how often I can post them. I'm guessing probably at least going through these first 13, probably one a week, maybe two, just because of the length, and I know it's going to take a lot of editing work to edit these down some, because I know there's a lot of superfluous stuff and a lot of stuff that's outdated now, because I originally meant to edit these in November, so there's information from then that doesn't apply now, that I have to edit out or edit down, on top of just trying to edit down the runtimes as well. So yeah, that's going to take quite a bit of work to do. Once I get to episode 14, which will be, new recordings, I'm going to be trying to time myself and keep things a little bit shorter per episode, make it easier on me, and also help with you guys trying to watch them so that each video isn't quite so obnoxiously long. Because even editing some of these down, they're still going to be quite long. Like the first episode probably still be at least an hour. But although that one's partially because it's the entire introduction part of the game. Some of these other ones I'm going to hopefully try to be able to get down to like 45 minutes or so. Although a few of these are going to be a little difficult, like the hour 23, hour 24 ones, 4 and 5, and the hour 48 for episode 11. Yeah. It'll be hard, but I'm going to try to edit down as much as I can. Yeah, keeping myself to a timer for the future, so that way I can also put videos out a little bit more often too. I'm hoping that once I'm starting to, getting to like newly recorded episodes, I'm hoping I can do 2 a week. No guarantees. We'll see, because I do still have to focus on the comics here and getting my art going. But Pokemon Sword will be my main focus for a little while. Eventually, though, I will also start recording the Platinum Randomized Nuzlocke again, and putting episodes of that out as well. It's not going to be right away. Probably, I would like to be able to get to it relatively soon, like within a couple months, just because I've been itching to go back to Platinum again, and go back to that Nuzlocke in particular, because I like the team. It's a really freaking good team so far. I got a Mudkip, I got a Togepi, I got a Magnemite, it's not a Magnezone yet. I got a Zubat, which granted isn't that good, but it will eventually be good. I got a Bidoof, who's actually quite good early game. It's a really good team. I like to continue on with them. And also, I love Platinum, so I'm hoping I can maybe get to that around like 8 to 10, episode 8 to 10 on working on Sword and Shield. Not Sword and Shield, it's just Sword. And not Sword. What the hell am I? Stupid speech impediments. Sword. My Sword playthrough. So basically by the time I'm around editing to those ones, I'm hoping that's around when I'll get back to Platinum as well. That's partially going to be dependent on just how much time I have. Again, with working on both Pokemon Sword and on my art stuff. Those are going to be basically the two main things on the channel for a while. Eventually, I would like to bring Civ back. It's not going to be Civ 5, though, unfortunately. The 3 game is going to be kind of abandoned for now, at least. Eventually, I'd like to go back to Civ 5, because there are a few things about Civ 5 I like more than Civ 6, but I honestly don't remember how to play Civ 5. I don't like a lot of it's the same compared to Civ 6, but a lot of it's different too. And I really like Civ 6. There is one big giant thing that Civ 6 does get wrong over Civ 5, the World Congress, but like almost everything else, I vastly prefer Civ 6's mechanics. And it's by far my favorite 4X game. With Civ 5 being a really solid second. So I would like to start, doing some Civ 6 videos eventually. But that's going to be even, a little bit longer than, Platinum Nuzlocke. Just because trying to juggle too many things at once would be a bad idea. It's part of the reason why I struggled previously trying to do too much at once. And I really need to focus on my art, like really badly. So I'm going to do that. And, find time to do these videos in between working on that stuff. Other things I would like to do in the future, maybe Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, maybe. What else, honestly? Maybe Terraria, bring back Terraria Testaments, possibly, with the final update that's coming out pretty soon. One thing I probably actually will do, those two are like maybes. I'll get into what will happen with the maybes in a little bit here. One thing I will definitely do is do some Animal Crossing videos to just show off my island now and again. I already mentioned I would do some videos showing off Linacre / Continent, the new version, as I have enough to show. Don't really have much right now. I just recently basically made a giant torch path to light up the pathway between the spawn area in my house and where Linacre is going to be, and it took a while. It took several hours to do that torch path in creative with flying. It's a very, very, very long distance, but at least have that kind of technically I don't have all the paths laid out in the world yet. Some of them are just laid out on my map. But I got enough to start with, at the very least, so I can actually begin work on building things now. But, those are things that I'll definitely do, but those will be like little one-off videos here and there. They're not going to be like proper series. But when it comes to like the sort of maybe series, like the Terraria, like Xenoblade Chronicles, and many other things that I may want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if there's a game that I want to record, I'm going to record several episodes of it, relook at the recordings, try my hand at editing them, and see how they turn out. Because one issue I also had previously is me wanting to do videos on a game, recording it, and it just not coming out well. A great example of that is what's the name of the game? Splatoon. There we go. Splatoon 2 specifically. The Saturdays. I really, really like Splatoon 2, and I really enjoy playing the game. The problem is just I'm not good at commentating certain types of games. More action-y, more fast-paced games, I'm just bad at. Strategy games, it's quite easy. Things like Pokemon, things like Fire Emblem Three Houses. I mean, I recorded 16 episodes of that for a reason. Civilization. Those are games where, turn-based, I could take my time, I can, think out what I'm doing, and part of the commentary is me literally saying what I'm thinking, my strategy. And that's part of the reason why I do those games, not only because I like them, but because it's way easier for me to commentate. I'm not having to both say, think out what I'm doing in the game and focus on what I'm doing in the game, and at the same time try to also commentate, make things entertaining, while the things I'm doing in the game aren't things I can commentate on. Particular strategy games, the stuff I am doing, I can commentate on, because that is the game. The game is thinking things through, strategizing, and thus just saying what I'm thinking is the best way to commentate those games. And then I can also say stuff like in between, like with Fire Emblem, like obviously in the maps you got all the strategy stuff, but then you got everything else going on too, and then we're commentating like knowing what I'm doing, but commentating on the story, what's happening, and all that jazz. my theories. Unfortunately, in the case of Fire Emblem Three Houses, I obviously recorded 16 episodes back when it first came out, but I haven't recorded since in quite a long time, and I have since been spoiled on a lot of things. Not everything, but most things, just because it's been too long, and thus people have been talking about it. So I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to continue that. I've saved the recordings for now. I'm going to have to go through and make that decision soon because it's taking up how much space? 105 gigabytes. Yeah. I need to clear up some of that space. So I have to make my decision on that soon. But I'm leaning towards not actually putting those videos out, which is a shame. Because I really enjoyed recording those. But Fire Emblem Three Houses also had a bit of a problem, a different problem, in that it took too long. It just took too long to do things. Like, let's see here. I generally, a few of these episodes I were able to keep to a decent length. The first one is an hour 3. The second one was only 21 minutes. Third, an hour 5. Fourth one was an hour and 30. 57, hour 30. Hour 40, hour 23, hour 34, hour 50, 57, hour 30, hour 20, 2 hours and 14 minutes for the last episode that I recorded. Because so much of it is, I was, well, not all of these had actual maps being played in them. But if I was doing a map, I wanted to do a full map in one video. But having also seen like what some later maps can be like and how long they take, I would have had to have split them up into multiple episodes because of how long it could take to get through some of those maps. And while it's part of doing a Fire Emblem playthrough, it does also make things a little worse and much harder to really do in terms of making the quality episodes as high as I want them to be. So it's just a bit of a difficult series to do. One I probably would have still persevered with and done if it hadn't been so long, and thus taken away a massive portion of what those videos were. Me talking about the story, and theorizing and, really diving into it. Now that I know so much of what happens later, it's taking half the reason for those videos existing out. Which is why I'm leaning towards not doing them. But I will still take a look at them and make a final decision on that a little later. But other games can be much more difficult for me to commentate. Things like Xenoblade Chronicles might be a little difficult because of me possibly having a hard time trying to commentate while I am in a fight. Because I have to focus so much on what I'm doing and timing of things, with it being much more actiony. And at the same time, it can also be problems with there not being enough happening for me to commentate on. That's a problem I actually had a lot with Minecraft. It was split between there not being enough for me to do, and there being me needing to focus too much on the game. Like building, I had to focus really heavily on by building versus commentating. Then so much of the rest of the stuff, I had to focus too much on commentating that because there wasn't enough going on. And Terraria is kind of a similar issue too. So with those sorts of games, I need to really kind of rethink how I commentate and edit in order for me to really be able to do those sorts of games. Meanwhile, some other games have a little bit more of a happy medium in that regard. Particularly a lot of open world style games, Fallout, Skyrim, just Elder Scrolls in general, really, Breath of the Wild. Those are sorts of games that I could commentate. In fact, I did a Breath of the Wild video that one time. It's a little filler time episode just to have, fill time and schedule. And, I felt that worked out relatively well, despite my own amateurishness of commentary. And that's largely because there's enough happening to help out with the commentary, to give me something to talk about, but not so much happening at once most of the time that it's getting in the way of me commentating. It's in that happy medium. And occasionally there'll be more stuff happening at once, and occasionally there won't be enough happening at once, but those are, smaller moments that I can manage, where I'm focused on, desperately trying to stay alive, and other little moments where there's nothing going on, so I can just edit it out. And it's to the point where I've seriously been considering doing Breath of the Wild or Skyrim playthrough on the channel eventually. And Breath of the Wild sequel is a game that I will almost certainly play on the channel, doing it blind, so we can have that first playthrough recorded, and have my reaction to discovering things, versus a Breath of the Wild playthrough or Skyrim playthrough. Now I know those games really well, and those would be more about, well, Breath of the Wild, if I were to do it, it would be Master Mode, which I've done a bit of. I've done a bit of that playthrough, but started from scratch and doing it for video, it's very, very difficult to do. And you give me a way to do that game and have a reason for it being on the channel and being a challenge, and me doing it again and playing the game again. And Skyrim, it would be modded, possibly even role playing. I've been going back and forth, do I want to role play? Do I not want to role play? Because if I do role play, depending on what I'm role playing as, it might restrict what sort of quests I do. As it is, I would still be restricted on some quests that I just flat out wouldn't do, like the Champions Guild. I don't want to be a werewolf. So, yeah. But it's role playing would help give me a bit of a better reason to do it beyond just it's modded, and it would also help out with the commentary angle as well. But we'll see. Also have to see about what the next Elder Scrolls game is going to be like too, whenever it gets revealed and actually put out. And obviously there's always Fallout. Probably New Vegas, frankly. If it doesn't crash constantly, at the very least. Which it will, because it's New Vegas. If only Obsidian had had more time. But, granted, it'd still be pretty buggy, because the edge is buggy as hell, but, because Bethesda, but still. But, those are all still just maybes. Maybe in the more distant future. Just because I gotta focus on, smaller number of series for now, and just getting stuff put out, and working on my art. Want to really reiterate that. Gotta work on my art. Gotta get these comics going. Gotta take advantage of this time that I have. So that's basically what will be happening with the channel. In terms of other things, why I've been gone for so long. There's a few reasons. A few of them I sadly still cannot get into fully. Fumbling over my words. Just because there's a few things I don't want to risk being overheard. But the long and short of it is dealing with family, the stress of that, while also having to work. That's taking up a ton of time. If you hear that beeping in the background, that is the oven playing a wondrous melody telling us that it is done. Parents are busy making dinner. Not done yet. Despite the beeping. Still have a second phase. So, I'm going to still keep going. But yeah, having to deal with family and having to deal with both the time consumption and the physical stress and a bit of mental stress as well, of working, was just too much to deal with all at once. One or the other is fine. Obviously, if I was working and not dealing with family, I wouldn't have time to work on my art. And I would have less time to work on videos, so I'd be able to get less out in that fashion. but it would still be way easier for me to work on things. With the way it is now, I have tons of time, so I'm capable of doing more, but it's still difficult for me to actually work and get myself to work on stuff because of the stress of the family causing issues with technically it's causing issues with the work ethic, but it's more so motivation that it's affecting there. So, yeah, it's been really difficult. That's been like the biggest thing, but part of the issues with the family is a whole smorgasbord of other stuff that I just can't get into yet till I move out. One thing I will at least mention is a couple years ago now, I don't know if it's around the time I stopped making videos. I think it was a little while after I had stopped making videos. But it was still the same year that I had previously stopped. I had in October, had a massive bout and wave are not the right sorts of words, but basically had gender dysphoria come roaring back after I had been mostly settled for a good half decade plus. And really hit me hard. And it's something that's still a little difficult to deal with the family. But it did force me to come to the conclusion that unlike basically reversing the decision I made previously, I am an androgen. I lean towards the feminine very heavily. I often say like 85-90% girl, 10-15% guy. Is technically a mix, technically androgen, but much more of a girl. But previously I had settled on not transitioning in any way, just because of the fact that I didn't hate my body. But the reason that bout of gender dysphoria completely 180 to that. Basically helped me realize, and it was brought on by a comic actually. Let me check the name here, because I at least want to give a shout out. Let's see here. Where is it? It's a gaming comic. Life in Aggro. And it wasn't even so much the comic as much as just the description of the one of the artists of that comic who is trans as well, and what they dealt with. Basically set my brain off and helped me realize that I can't keep trying to tell myself that this body's actually okay. There are still some things I'm not doing. What's it called? What's the abbreviation? SEO. There we go. Not doing the SEO. Just because that aspect of it isn't, quote, good enough for me, end quote. Womb transplants aren't a thing yet for biological males, so yeah. I mean, they're barely a thing for biological females at this point. But I can't get the exact thing that I want, and the half measure isn't good enough for me. Half measure would be worse than what I have now, for me, because of the fact that I still like technically don't hate this body. But that the rest of the stuff, the hormone stuff and stupid facial hair, that needs to change, at the minimum, because I'm just not happy enough with the way it is now. So, I'm officially trans androgen. And I'm kind of saying all this stuff softly so it's not overheard. But yeah, it's been a difficult ride. Big reason why I've been, on top of everything else, why I've been trying to get out of the house so desperately, but obviously now it's going to get delayed quite heavily with the economy in the shitter. It's like, spend like a couple, we move here, I'll spend a couple months working on my art, and then, really go, as we're going into spring and jobs start opening up, go really ham into trying to get that full-time job so I can move out. Oh, nope, now there's a virus that's literally shut everything down. The other thing that hasn't been shut down, it's funny enough, one of the things that I would be, applying for in grocery, but between not having been, well, so many of the grocery stores in Bellingham being owned by Safeway, between the Safeway, I think there's only one, but then all the Hagans are owned by Safeway Albertson now because of that whole nonsense. How the hell they were even allowed to then buy the Hagans out is beyond me. It defeats the whole goddamn purpose. But just their system isn't particularly good when it comes to trying to apply. I'm still not sure if it's actually working properly. But also you've tried multiple times and just haven't been able to get an interview, which is annoying. But then the bigger issue is that I'm still living with my parents. They are both at risk. They're both over 60. God, how old are they actually? 63? Yeah. I mean, technically my dad was 62, but that's because at the time of recording it's not his birthday yet. My parents' birthdays are... Actually, his birthday's tomorrow. My parents' birthdays are like 6 days apart from each other. Born in the same year. But yeah. Yeah, they're 63. They both have a lot of other health issues. My mom especially has lung issues since she was born. So I have to do my best to not get sick. Because if I get it, they are going to get it living in this house. And any job I'm likely to get would have a probation period where I would need to still be living at home until that probation period is over, and thus I have the job security that I need to ensure that I'll be able to continue living on my own. And that job security will also help me getting an apartment too. Get the financing and everything. Well, I don't know if it's not financing is really an issue, but a lot of apartments often want you to make sure that you have reliable income. So being past probation helps with that. But more so for my sake. Plus, if they start me part-time instead of full-time for the probation period, I would also need to still be living here because I wouldn't be able to afford to live on my own. So, just with that being an issue, I can't really afford to work. Not to mention the fact that I don't want to get it either. Because, while I don't really have as much problems with it anymore, I did used to have mild asthma when I was younger. I can still get winded, fairly well. Lungs aren't the best. My sinuses aren't the best. I have more issues with my sinuses than I do with my lungs these days, but still. I also have immune system issues, not in the negative, but in the over positive way, where it's too strong. And that could be very, very detrimental to me as well with this particular illness and the way it works with this virus. So I wanted to take care of myself as well, especially since transitioning isn't going to be particularly great for my long-term health anyways. The fewer things that could potentially screw me over long-term, the better. Especially since I've been dealing with, massive sinus problems ever since I got the swine flu. I don't want to be dealing with more shit for the rest of my life. So just keeping myself safe is better for now. Especially since it does at least give me time to work on my art and my actual career path. Like, I'm not too concerned. And there's, even with grocery stores being open, with there being so few jobs in general, it's going to be tough competition for getting those jobs. And since I'd be limited on when I'd be able to work due to relying on bus service that also isn't really running properly right now, so I'm even less able to work currently, but also, needing Saturdays off for once things are able to reopen Pokemon League. It's just harder for me to get a job compared to people that are available whenever because they have cars and don't have any, singular date that they need to have off every week, particularly a weekend date, particularly the busier weekend date like Saturday. But then on top of that, a lot of the other options I was going to be looking at was general retail, which massive chunk of that is just shut down completely. Or almost completely. So, yeah, I just don't have as many options right now, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to wait on that for things to kind of turn around. I think that's most everything that I needed to talk about. Talk about stuff with the channel, talk about where I've begun, more distant future stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I'll be working on, as I said, we'll be working on Sword relatively soon. Don't expect the videos for a couple weeks, despite I'll be starting working on them at, end of next week. Again, just because I want to edit a couple and get used to how long it takes for these guys. And plus, it's probably going to take a while for the first several. I will, write up a schedule once I know how many of the Swords videos I can edit in a week. And I'll, change up the schedule as I am able to do more, or at least do more episodes. But I won't post it to start with. Like the first few Sword videos, there won't actually be a posted schedule, and they'll just be up when they're up. But then I'll, use that to help me figure out what the exact schedule will be. Otherwise, I think that is it. Well, there is one other thing two other things I did want to mention. These are much more distant future things. But I did want to briefly talk about things that you will see in the much more distant, we're talking like probably year plus out future. Now, obviously, there's some things that are related to my comics, commentaries on the comics. That'll happen as I make the comics and post the comics. Music for the comics. That'll basically be done as it's done. Unfortunately, I probably won't be able to do some of the songs right when I want them to be out, which is when the time, the parts of the comics that they tie into happen. Just because Silver Hair is going to have so much freaking music, it's going to take a while. But that will be a thing that will be happening on top of me working on my other songs and continuing to fix up the legacy versions of some of my old songs, and then do fuller proper versions of them eventually. But also a couple actual other videos, more YouTube specific videos or video series that I do intend to do eventually. One, a Harry Potter video game retrospective covering all of the PC and Nintendo handheld console Harry Potter games, primarily to cover like the ones that I grew up playing and then where it all went wrong. But they'll be the ones specifically for the movies, although I will also cover the Quidditch World Cup. I think it was the Game Boy Advance game, if I remember right. Yes, it's Game Boy Advance game. And because that was, another one I grew up playing. But that's something I want to do eventually. And the Toga Ticker. This is something I had made like an initial little thumbnail thing for a while ago. Wasn't that great. Need to completely redraw it at some point. But eventually I would like to actually do that. It is meant to be a weekly Pokemon news aggregate. Basically taking the week's Pokemon news in terms of the video game news, TCG news, any like major news about anime, movies and stuff, and other general news. Not so much merchandising news, although like specific, major merchandising news like those special dress shirts or the special pop figures, pop vinyl figures, not the crappy soulless eyes ones, but the actual good like Pikachu line ones and now the Evolution line ones, that sort of thing. Those sorts of things that are merchandising news I might cover. But it's primarily focused on video game and TCG news, with like little bits of other stuff. That's something I want to do eventually, really want to do eventually. But that's going to have to be much, 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 much later down the road, because that's going to be a lot of work to do every week, and I just don't have the time, or frankly the skill, to do that yet. So, more distant future, but it's something I 100% plan on doing. So yeah, I think that covers everything for now. So I will see you guys in a few weeks when we start the November to December, January to February to March to April, close to 6 month old 5 or 6 month old Pokemon Sword videos. And then eventually I'll see you in closer to real time with the Pokemon Platinum Randomized Nuzlocke and new recordings of Pokemon Sword. So I can finally get past that frickin' Dragon Town and actually finish the damn game. That'll be it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.